was 56 times more likely to be gunned down than the national average. Asher provided this statistic, as he did many others you'll find in the pages ahead. Even while working on that original piece, I was struck by how unflinchingly honest Brown is when it comes to his surroundings, and in how he speaks to his players, even with a reporter present. I've written about sports, often spotlighting how they intersect with society and culture for more than 2 decades. In general, coaches and athletes want to show you the most sanitized versions of themselves, often attempting to conceal their miscalculations, mistakes, and fears. I assume they believe this projects strength, supposedly a core tenet of leadership. But I think it masks not just reality, but humanity as well. No matter our backgrounds, imperfection is something we all have in common, even if we aren't typically comfortable saying it out loud. To an almost jarring degree, especially given his profession, Brown rejects pretense and inauthenticity. He expects the same of his players and staff. Within minutes of my arrival in August 2018, a senior running back was telling me about the first time he broke into a house. A top assistant coach was sharing an anecdote about how he'd sold marijuana and pills before taking a coaching job at Karr. Brown, whose journey and leadership philosophy I've come to deeply admire, admitted to me that he's driven not by winning games or championships, but by a deep fear that someone else he loves will be cut down by gunfire. Across the Mississippi River from New Orleans' tourist track is a football program and a school and a world that seemed almost unbelievable before I first crossed the bridge. It's easy to pretend poverty isn't as bad as the news media says, that no matter where you come from, a college education and career success are within easy reach as long as you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and study and work hard. It's especially easy to think that if you look like me. And I must confess here that regardless of my curiosity and work, I'd been content for years to pretend communities like this didn't exist in the United States. I want to show you this world, and I want you to see it as I did, unfiltered and unpolished. For a time, I considered using pseudonyms when referencing Karr's players, many of whom are younger than 18. After all, part of my personal oath when setting off on this exploration of a marginalized community, where some residents have it hard enough, was to do no harm. But Brown and others insisted that I change nothing. They asked that I show their realities, obstacles, and methods precisely as they are. Therefore, no names have been changed and no speech has been modified. Some of the language is coarse and may be uncomfortable or even offensive to readers. This would include the occasional use of the N-word by players and coaches. I and my editors at HarperOne spoke at length about the right way to handle this, influenced by my belief and policy that no white person should ever use this word, spoken or in print. We agreed it is not my place to censor language, but because this is the most divisive and painful word in the English language, we also agreed to use dashes instead of spelling out this word. Do no harm, after all. This book is a work of nonfiction journalism, and everyone who participated did so with the understanding that their words and actions were on the record. The use of quotation marks signals that the contained remark is written precisely as it was spoken. It's impossible for me to fully appreciate the relationship between Karr's players and coaches, so I avoid judgment in my writing. Other than this author's note and the acknowledgments, I also avoid use of the first person. This isn't my story, after all. It's theirs. The story unfolded throughout 2019, before the onset of the novel coronavirus pandemic and the murder of George Floyd. But much of this book was written with those events, and their respective aftermaths, as a backdrop, and through the privileged filter of a white man's eyes. I cannot know why Brown and others granted me such exceptional access, though I suspect it was partly because of my skin color. Brown does almost nothing without premeditation, and some Karr players had never met, and certainly hadn't held a meaningful conversation with, someone of a different race or completely different set of experiences. One day I was reminded of these differences during a text exchange with another assistant coach. I had expressed sympathy about the plight of Joe Thomas, a Karr player you'll meet. "Don't feel bad for him," the coach wrote. "Just get his story out." I have done so thoroughly and objectively. The overwhelming majority of the reporting is